Yes, there I am. Hello, everyone out there. Hello, Mars Life here. We are talking about communication and passive aggressive behaviors. So, yes, we just wait for people to show up here. Ooh, I see you, the Lula Bird. Yes. So, yes, we're out here, everyone. And today, what we're talking about is communication. So I really wanted to talk about passive aggressive behavior. Yes. So who out there knows what passive aggressive looks like? Chime in on the chat. There's this article that indicates that the top three people in individuals' lives that are passive aggressive includes coworkers, friends, and mothers. Those are the top 3 aggressive types of individuals that show up in your life. Partners. So what passive aggressive looks like is slamming doors or giving someone the silent treatment or slamming things around the house or, withholding affection, attention, sarcasm, saying sly things that are minimizing and maybe degrading or belittling or judgmental. All of these things equate to passive aggressive behavior. So we all know what aggressive is, right? We're yelling to the top of our lungs. Maybe our body language is real erect. Maybe we're in somebody's face. Maybe we're staring them down intensely. All that's aggressive. That is aggressive. And what that means when we're aggressive is that we don't care about what anybody else needs. All we care about is what we want in that moment. So it doesn't matter how you feel, it doesn't matter what you need, none of that. Only thing that matters is what you want in that moment right there. So we get aggressive, we get louder and louder, and we're going to make sure they hear us and make sure they do what we feel they should do. And we're making sure that we win that argument so that we get our needs met. But what happens is the other person either fights back with that much more intensity or the self-esteem within you or that person is impacted and ultimately people start to stonewall and none of your needs get met. So it's very important to be mindful of how you're communicating because it's going to impact you in major ways in the long term. So this study, right, is so interesting. Let me see if I can share my screen. Yeah, see, you see it? The worst passive aggressive phrases according to Americans. And this is just so interesting, right? And this is a recent study from this September. So, the key findings are that coworkers, mothers, and friends are the top 3 most passive aggressive individuals. The worst passive aggressive phrase that people hear is "you're too sensitive." So, that's very it's something to note because a lot of times we struggle with articulating how we feel because our cultural norms are that you shouldn't feel anything. What's more important is that you perform and you work and you're productive, not your feelings. So that's something people hear is like, you're too sensitive, or why are you getting so upset? And no offense, but you're doing too much right now. No offense, but you stink. No offense, but I don't like what you have on. These are like passive aggressive things you can say to someone. And over time, those little things add up and turn into blow ups. So who out there has had these experiences? Yes, let me check in with the chat. I do both, Lula Bird. I hear you. I hear you. Because we want to get our needs met. We want to have that person do what we feel they need to do, right? So what else we got? At work, three of the most passive aggressive phases are, as you no doubt are aware. Ooh, who's heard that? For future reference, I'd appreciate it if you would. How does that feel when someone says that to you? Oh, and this is just a friendly reminder. Make sure you send out all those emails before you leave. So people definitely at works experience a lot of passive comments and behaviors. And at work, that's the one place where you're on your best behavior. With your friends or your mother, your family, you can go all out with them. You can yell, you can scream to the top of your lungs, you could throw tantrums, you could do those things because these people are a little more tolerant, right? But coworkers is like, uh-oh, I might lose my job if I act up too much here. So a lot of times that comes out in passive aggressive ways, right? So this is interesting. Look at this, y'all. They say the Northeast has the most passive aggressive people. The South is right under there, Midwest, and then the West. So yeah, what are y'all thoughts about that? I'm from New York, and New Yorkers have a tendency to tell it like it is. So you'll see more aggressive behaviors, and it's noted that the Northeast is where the passive aggressive communication comes through the most. It's very close to the South though. So let's see the worst types of communication: shifting the blame. Oh, it has nothing to do with me, it's all you. You're the one to blame, it's all your fault, you're the crazy one, look at what you did. And then by hearing those things, what do? You defend because that person is accusing you of stuff. So you defend, you defend, you defend because you're being accused. I've had them all. I've been the aggressor and then I've been passive. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that because that's what happens. Like we teeter totter, right? Because it's like, okay, I'm not gonna say nothing today because if I say something, I already know what's gonna happen. It's gonna go all the way to the left. And then the next day, I'm not gonna say nothing today. I'm not gonna say nothing. And then eventually you get tired of holding back, of blocking your throat chakra, of blocking your power. Because that's what this is. This is your throat, this is your power right here. This is how we integrate emotionally with others, right? So we block it and then we blow up. So what it is learn how to be assertive, where you can kind of hone in and communicate with what you need while also respecting what they need, right? So here we go. Worst communication: shifting the blame, patronizing, denying your anger. That's huge. No, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. You give them the cold shoulder. You turn over in the bed. Nah, I'm not mad. But they know you're mad. They know. The worst behavior: fake politeness, fake innocence, weaponized kindness. People can use kindness too to be aggressive when it's too much, when it's not authentic, when it's not real. Yes, yes, yes. So these are all very interesting points. I wanted to share it with you guys. Yeah. Let's see what else is on here. The 18 worst passive aggressive phrases. You're too sensitive. Why are you getting so upset? Oh, no offense, but or whatever. It doesn't matter anyway. It doesn't matter what I do, whatever. Or if that's what you want to do, go ahead, do it. Or you should have known that I would want you to come home by 12. You should have already known not to call that person. You should have already known to give me your password to Instagram, whatever it is. Or I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. No, and you see it. You see it in that person. They're stomping around the house, and you say, "Yo, what's wrong?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm fine." Or, "Do you know what I mean by that? Do you really know what I mean by that?" Or, "I thought you knew. You should have already knew." That's a big thing what we do that gets us into trouble is we automatically assume that other person should know what we want and what we need. But sometimes you got to spell it out for people. Sometimes you have to slow down, take a step back, take a deep breath, and let them know. And just by clearly stating, I want. I want. What do you want? It's very simple. I want you to help me with this chore. I want you to hug me when I get home. I want a raise. What is it that you want? Be clear about it. Because that's the only way you're going to get what you really want is to by articulating what you want, not assuming that other adults should know what we want. So, what do you want? Yes. And you're so lucky. You're so lucky. That's the comparisons trap right there at its best. Like we size ourselves up. We measure ourselves against others, right? So we size ourselves up. You're so lucky. But really there's no lack. There's no not enough. What you have is what you have and what they have is what they have. And what they have is what they need to have in that moment. And what you have is what you need to have in that moment. So accepting who you are in every now moment allows you to not fall into that comparison trap. You just want everything to be perfect. Who said that before? I didn't know you meant now. Like, oh, can you help me with this? And then they're sitting around not doing nothing. And then you say, well, I didn't know you meant now. Oh, all these little things are passive aggressive. So this is interesting. 73% experience passive aggression at work. 52% admit to being passive aggressive at work. 38% feel their workplace incentivizes passive aggressive communication, and 39% don't feel free to directly express their feelings at work. You know, it's a thing, y'all. And 47% would quit a job if a coworker, client, or manager was being passive aggressive. You know, in reality, that's really the main reason why people leave jobs is they don't like their managers. You know, think back to every time you wanted to quit. What was the reason? It's because there's somebody there you work with that you didn't care for and it was stressing you out. You know, sometimes the work isn't a good match for us, you know, so it's okay to transition to new positions, advance your career, do whatever you need. But a lot of times people leave simply because of communication. Yeah. You know, these are things you could say at work. This is interesting. Per my last email, when you CCs, that's really passive aggressive. A lot of times in emails, somebody will just put everybody on the email. People that don't even need to be on the email is on the email. So this is very aggressive thing you can do in a passive way. Just circling back, please advise, thanks in advance, all these things. You know, you have to articulate what you need, but be mindful of how it's being interpreted. Yeah. Those are the top 5. If you're trying to avoid being passive aggressive over text, consider avoiding using things like K, never mind, question marks, yep, ha, no worries. Because it's like you lose a lot of cues with online communication because you don't have the eye contact, you don't have the tone and the intonation, you don't have these things. So you have to be mindful of like short, curt responses, how they may be interpreted by the other person on the other side. So yes, that's what I wanted to get on here and talk about, y'all, is passive aggressive behaviors. Because it's a thing. Yes, yes. I know it's you, Dory. I know you're out there. Thank you for tuning in and watching and participating. So, what I want to leave everyone with is, you know, these are my angel cards, and this is what angelically I believe is being said about this topic, right? So I was on TikTok earlier and I pulled these cards. I wanted to share them here. This one is talking about using your wisdom. What it is that you can't hide anymore. You have to face your fears. It's time to where's the camera? It's time to admit what you're doing. Admit if your communication needs to improve itself. Face your fears. A lot of times we hide because of our egos. We hide behind that denial, like, "Oh, no, nothing's wrong with me, it's all them," and we shift the blame. But the longer that you do this, the more you do this and perpetuate the cycle, you're just gonna cycle around in the same issues over and over again. So the time is now to face your fears, and with facing your fears, you're going to learn how to use your wisdom, because your wise mind is an integration of your emotions and your logic. So you don't react all emotionally based upon what you feel. You use your logic as well, and you combine that so that you can be balanced and mindful. So use your wisdom, and by using your wisdom, you're going to be more open and honest in your communication. And as you're more open and honest in your communication, what's going to happen is you're going to open up new opportunities and relationships for yourself. So more money, more time, more support, more promotion, more advancement, because now you're actually using your voice in the ways that is meaningful to both you and others around you, right? And then as you're doing all of this, your things are going to speed up for you. So all those things that you thought were like stagnant and not moving, they're going to start to move very quickly once you really open up and express what you need and what you want. Things will change rapidly, right? And then last but not least, what it's going to do is it's going to create a rebirth for you. It's going to be a new beginning. So you're going to start a new life because you shed all that old dead negative energy that's full of drama and fear, and now you're living in your truth and your purpose and using your wisdom. If we think about King Solomon and the wisdom that he asked God for and that he held, that wisdom allowed him to prosper in major ways. And he articulated what he wanted and his thoughts through communication. So when you shed the fear and the denial and the blame, you're going to open up your life in new ways. And it's going to feel like a rebirth, like a new beginning that's purposeful and meaningful to you. So this communication is very important. So be mindful if you're being passive aggressive and check yourself. And if you are doing it, take a step back and ask yourself, what is it that I want? And then articulate it, state it, express it, express what it is that you want, because that's going to open up your opportunities, your wealth, your abundance, your prosperity, your relationships, your supports, all of the above. So the time is now. And as soon as you start to do this, all those things you've been waiting to happen are going to start to flood in quickly. So the time is now to be mindful of your communication and your behavior. So I love you guys, and I thank you for tuning in. And if you guys have any questions about this, message me, send me any responses. I'm active on TikTok more often. So if you're wanting to attend any lives there, check me there in Myers Life Coaching. Instagram at Myers Life Coach. Facebook, Myers Life Coaching LLC. YouTube, Myers Life Coaching. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate you. Have a good night. Love you. Myers Life.